Well, thanks all for those who have joined, and we're recording this as well. So if people hop on late, we can allow them to see the rest of the conversation that they missed, but also feel free to share this out with your networks after for those who were not able to be a part of the conversation today. But really excited for our next microlearning session today that we've been doing over our summer series. Today, we'll be talking about the Work-Based Learning Interactive Training Plan. And so really looking forward to showcasing that today as we have recently launched that on our website. As a quick reminder for those who are not as familiar with some members of our team who are really embedded into the work-based learning work at Ascend, want to just do a quick introduction. So my name is Destiny Lushka and serve as a senior director here on the team. And then I'm joined by my wonderful colleagues, Erin and Christy as well, who are in this work. So never hesitate to reach out if you all have questions. We're more than happy to be of support, and we're the people that you can be reaching out to. As a reminder, we have one more of our summer series for these microlearning sessions. The next one will be in August on the 25th, and it will be on student-led businesses in the toolkit that we had launched earlier this year. So really excited to be able to share that, walk a little bit more in depth through it, talk about student-led businesses as a whole and how they're successful in work-based learning as one of the types that can be offered for a school. So really looking forward to sharing that in August. Coming out of the conversation today, we'll share the link to register for that one so that you can get it on your calendars and be able to know about it. So today, like I mentioned, we're going to walk through the interactive training plan. So just wanted to give an idea of how we'll use our time together here over this lunch hour. And then please continue to feel free to add to the chat. Erin and myself will try to monitor that here throughout our conversation today, but happy to answer questions as we walk through the tool itself. But if you just have broader questions, also happy to answer those the best we can. So today, really want to walk through that interactive training plan with you all. Want to talk a little bit more about, as a foundation, why the training plan exists, as well as the partnership agreement as a helpful reminder when we think about high-quality work-based learning experiences and how those are beneficial for all parties involved. As well, want to be able to walk through the actual tool and be able to demonstrate that for you all today, show you how to use it, show you who can be using it, and what the goal is of each of the sections, and the ways that we've tried to make it really user-friendly so that it is a tool that's really easy to implement as you're out with students working alongside them and employers. And then additionally, I want to just continue to be able to share some of the benefits of the tool, the benefits of the training plan itself, and just continue to help reinforce strategies of how you can be using the resource to make it easier, as there are a lot of parts to work-based learning and want to make sure that this is a tool that's really helpful in that process. And so before we get into walking through the tool itself, wanted to lay a bit of groundwork at the beginning of re-sharing about the work-based learning training plan and partnership agreement. Maybe for those who have not heard about it before or need a friendly reminder, I know I shared this last time as well, but just wanted to walk through sharing again what the training plan and the partnership agreement are and why they're required as a part of a student's work-based learning experience. So as a quick overview, the Work-Based Learning Training Plan and Partnership Agreement, it's a collaborative planning tool, and it's meant to help support in creating a meaningful, high-quality work-based learning experience. And it's used across a handful of different users. So thinking about the schools who are working alongside their students, the students themselves, the employers that are hosting the students, and then the parent or guardian of that student. So a lot of people are interacting with the plan and the agreement. And so it's really critical that we find ways to make sure that it's easy to get around to all parties as they're either contributing to filling it out or just being aware of what's in the training plan and a part of the partnership agreement. And as a quick reminder about the partnership agreement and the training plan, wanted to kind of share the difference between the two. So the partnership agreement is the document that establishes really a clear expectation across all parties of what are the expectations of the student, of the employer, of the school, as well as what role does everyone play, and what are the responsibilities of each. And so it makes it very clear for everyone to be on the same page. As well, the agreement creates alignment on the goals and the structure of the specific work-based learning experience for the student. So that could be for the internship that the student is in, or for another student, it might be the apprenticeship that they're a part of, but speaking specifically to that experience of the student. And then the training plan defines the purpose of the placement and identifies the skills and the competencies the student's going to develop over the course of that work-based learning experience. And so again, that can be tailored differently based on that type of experience. If it's an apprenticeship, it might be more of a 2 to 3 year plan that you're building that out for. Or if it's an internship, it might be building it out for the course of a semester and what they're going to learn during that 6-month period. And then it also outlines how the learning will happen, as well as what supervision will be happening, a part of it, and then what the progress will be and how that progress is evaluated. And so those are some extra components of the training plan. And so for the question of who's going to be completing this training plan, especially as we think about getting ready to show the interactive training plan, knowing who's going to be the one actually in it, filling things out, it will be a collaborative effort across that school-based work-based or the school's work-based learning coordinator. It could also be the intermediary in some instances, the employer, so that manager of the student will be in there helping to fill it out, and then the student themselves. And so it will be a collaborative effort across those 3 various parties. And then, like I shared in some of the cases above, is that it will be able to be adapted based on the type of work-based learning experience, because you can imagine, I speak to the apprenticeship as an example because it's more of the extended, longer version of one of these experiences. That one's going to provide a lot more information that's going to need to be laid out because you're looking at a 2 to 3 year plan versus if you're doing a micro internship or just a semester internship, the amount of information is going to look different. And so each of these are able to be curated based on that specific experience. And really the goal of this whole thing is to ensure that every student has a consistent, structured, very intentional experience laid out for them that has clear expectations and measurable skill development. So they understand, looking at the roadmap ahead, here's what I'm going to be learning, here's what I'm working towards, and it's providing that for that student. And so that's why we believe this is so important, is going back to that high quality. If a student has a really great training plan and partnership agreement, they know what they're working towards. So does the school, so does that employer who's helping to invest in them. And so as a reminder, as we were building the training plan and the partnership agreement, we referenced IDOE's criteria of what needed to be included within it. And so when you think about what's really important, it's looking at in the training plan, being able to highlight those employability and technical skills. So thinking about from a competency to how does that map to the tasks and activity, and then looking at the target proficiency level, evaluation method. So walking through a process like that, so the student, again, knows what their learning outcomes will be. Also being able to highlight in there the student's goals, the commitments of the stakeholder involved, being able to highlight on the details of their experience. So things like what's their work schedule going to be, what's compensation look like for the student in their time at that employer, as well as like what's the expectations of the student in the workplace. And then with the partnership agreement, making sure that everyone is aligned. So having those signatures on the agreement, having those commitments laid out. And so really the goal is to make it crystal clear for everyone involved what is needed to be a part of this experience. And so earlier this year, we had shared with you all the training plan and partnership agreement template that we had launched on our website, as well as a companion guide that helped to walk through, here's how you would go about filling out that template. And so that was a really great start for us. We got great feedback that it was helpful to have something tangible to start with. That way, as if you're an intermediate out in a region, or if you're a school or the employer itself, you're not feeling like I have to take this information and go create something from scratch, but you had something to start with. And so found a lot of great value in seeing how partners are starting to leverage that. But one of the pieces of feedback that we've received from our intermediary partners and others is that continuing still to think about an interactive version that, again, just continues to remove barriers of making this really easy for those who are involved to help move that training plan forward, getting it complete for the student. And so what we did is we took all the information that's in these templates and created an interactive experience on our website that just provides a lot more opportunity to collaborate in real time across the employer, the school, the work-based learning coordinator, or even the student who is looking to fill this out. And so excited to be able to share that interactive tool with you all today and be able to walk through that. And so that's what we're going to spend the next part of our time doing. Please feel free to ask questions and put those in the chat. I'll stop after I've shown some of it to be able to share that with you all and answer any questions. But first, we'll start by just walking through. So before I get into the tool, I want to show a couple screenshots just to highlight a couple of really exciting parts of it, and then we'll actually jump into it. But one, you can see here on the very left-hand side, one of the pictures is showing just the way that it's going to walk you through a process. So you can see up at the top, it's walking you through the pages of this form. And so helping you see what all needs to be completed, where you're at in the process as you're walking through it. And so that's really helpful to think about all the steps that are needed and maybe where your step is versus someone else's. You can also see in the middle image, there is a picture where it's showing those signatures. So I showed you from the criteria of IDOE that there has to be a signature from all of the parties involved. So the student, that parent or guardian has to sign off on the training plan, the school representative, the employer, and any other external partners. And so this is just your one-stop shop where they can all come in, click to sign, and fill out the information for their title and date. But just makes it really easy to be able to share this across all of those parties who are needing to review the document itself. You can also see that you can save your progress at any time, so it's not something that has to be finished in one sitting. As well, you can email yourself the link so you can come back to it later. And then additionally, once it's complete, you can generate a PDF version, which is really nice to be able to go save that document or share it out after as you wish. And so here, what you can see is what the email will look like that you'll receive when you send yourself that link. And again, you can send it when it's not even complete. You could have just started the document, or maybe you're halfway through, or even finished. But either way, that email is going to provide you an opportunity to go and view your forms, whether it's the one you were working on or if you've created other ones before. And so where this is very much beneficial is as you're working with several students, you would be able to go in and see that whole portfolio of the different students you've been working with and each of their training plans. And so in that right-hand picture, you can see that you're able to title each one. So you could clearly title that with the student's name in it. You can see that the type of document is a training plan. You can see the status, so which ones are completed versus maybe which ones are still more in like that in progress or draft mode, when the last activity date was, and then you have this actions of you can either go continue in it, you could rename the document if needed, duplicate it, which that one is a really helpful feature that we're excited about because as you all might know, when you're working with students, usually there's a lot of similar experiences that students are stepping into where many of these training plans may look alike. And so instead of having to go create each new one from scratch, you can duplicate one of these training plans and then go in and customize it based on the student you're talking to. But just saves a lot of time there of not having to go recreate the wheel on something that you already developed alongside a student, and you know that next student might need a very similar experience. And so just wanted to highlight a few of those features, knowing that they're really helpful things, some feedback that we took from you all that we wanted to incorporate in the experience itself to be able to capture some of those helpful features. And so now I want to show you the training plan and what it looks like. I'll have Erin drop a link in the chat to be able to go to it. I'm also going to go to it on my screen. And then we also have a QR code, but I just want to make sure it's really easy to access for you all as I walk through it. If you're one that likes to follow along and start to play around with it yourself, you're more than welcome. If you would like to just look at my screen, you can do that too. We'll make sure to get the link out to you after the call today as well if you just want to focus on watching me during this time. but many ways you can gain access to it right now if you would like to see it as we walk through it. So I'm on our Ascend website right now. I wanted to show you the landing page that it sits on so that you can see what it looks like before you get to the next step of the exact direct link. So here on this resources page that we have, you can see that there's the training plan and partnership agreement template. What you would do is just press get started, and that's what's going to take you to the link that Erin shared in the chat or that was on the QR code, but wanted to show you one step before so you can see where that sits on the website. And so when getting started, you can see here that you'll need to fill out a title. Like we saw in the screenshots before, you can go back and edit this. So if you decide later on it wasn't as clear as you would have liked or you wanted to change it, you're more than welcome to do that. But I'm just going to call it test and put my name so that we can move forward. And then you're going to fill out your name and your email address. So I'm going to go ahead and add that here, and then we're going to start the form. And so now you can see the form has been started. We can save my progress at any time, and I can email this link to myself now if I would like. Let's say I didn't actually get through with working on it today. But wanted to highlight a few of the components as you're walking through this, whether it's yourself filling it out or others that will be working with it, just some of the features that we thought through that hopefully will be helpful in this experience. So one, like many forms, you can see that any of the areas that have an asterisk are going to be required. So those are areas that have to be filled out in order to move on to the next section. Obviously, student's name is really helpful because then we can know whose training plan this is that you're filling it out for if it wasn't clear in the title of the form that you filled out. The other thing is you're going to see all of these question marks. And so when you click on them, what we've done for each of the fields in this training plan is provided you with some clarity on what we're looking for in this section. And so what's helpful about this, it serves almost like that companion guide where it's providing you more context. And so if I'm the manager at the Burger King that's helping to fill this out for a student that's working a part-time job, I might not have as much context into some of this stuff. And so to be able to click in and read some of these pieces around what's being asked for and what step is really helpful to kind of alleviate some of those barriers of making this hard or easy to fill out. And so what you can see is it walks through like the school, into the school name. And so you can see here we have all the schools across Indiana populated. So as you start to type in, those would show up. So if I typed in Brownsburg, you can see Brownsburg High School pops up. And so really helpful that some of these are there. And then when we come down here, you can see, for example, when we start to look at filling out some information on the experience itself, when it comes to goals, you're able to add as many as you would like, so you can keep adding, which is great. And again, this goes back to tailoring for each experience. So for a smaller experience that's not as many weeks long, you might not have as many goals to highlight. But if this is a 2-year experience, you might have more to highlight. And so we wanted to provide that option to continue to add or customize as you would wish. Similarly with skills, we allow you to put what skills that student will be gaining through the experience, and then to determine if it's a technical skill or an employability skill. And so making some of those distinguishers throughout. You can see here on the next page, we highlight that this is some employer information. So that's a great cue for the employer to be able to come in and help fill some of this information out. Or if it's the work-based learning coordinator who already has this information and wants to fill it out as well. But on this one, you can see we're getting into some of the details around that start date and end date, as well as the type of experience. So when you click here, if you're unsure of what type of experience it is, you can see these are the 11 that are recognized in Indiana that meet IDOE's work-based learning definition. And then we also walk through talking about what each one is so that you understand the difference as you might be selecting which one. And so again, just provides clarity for those who are not as familiar to be able to accurately select what works. And then you can see here, this is where you're able to think through the schedule. And then it even talks about needing to meet 25 hours as a minimum requirement. So hopefully the goal of what you can see here is that we really tried to create it in a way that as people come in, yes, there's a lot of fields that are needing to be filled out, like you would see in your typical document version of the training plan, but we also provided a lot of context along the way so that you're not having to guess what goes in each section or what's needed in each of these areas. And so then we walk through things like the workplace expectations, so being able to talk about that. On this slide, we're getting into those technical skills. And so being able to start doing the activity that we had walked through before, where you map out, here's the competency, here's those tasks or activities, here's where it's going to take place, here's the type of proficiency level that they will have within that competency, and then the way that it'll be evaluated. And again, you can continue to do that along the way, but building it out in a way that hopefully will make it easy to be able to come in here and create an experience for one and potentially be able to duplicate it as more students are in a common experience. And then similarly, the last slide we saw was the technical skills. This one's the employability skills. And so then after you've walked through that whole template through the interactive experience, that last slide is what we showed in the screenshot, where once it's all filled out, everyone will come in and approve of that by clicking to sign. And so you can come in here, you would type your name, it'll create a signature for you, and then you can agree to that electronic signature. And then you can type in your title and the date. And then lastly, you can mark that form as complete. And so if it is complete, you can obviously do that. Let's say it's not, you can just save your progress, and then you can email yourself the link to come back to at any time to be able to finish it or see how things are going as others are in the form making any updates. And then you can view all forms. So you would just be able to sign in using your email, and that's going to allow you to, once you get that code, to go in and see, okay, here's all the forms I had. Maybe I've been working with 5 students on these, so I have 5 different forms to look at. And so I'll put in this code that I just received. And you can see here, I've come in a couple of times to do some testing, but I can now go in and I can duplicate, or I can go in and continue on a form that I was in before. And so really just tries to provide you with all of the information right at your fingertips. So that's the form itself. Again, the goal is that it just makes it an easy experience for multiple people to collaborate, provides a lot of clarity along the way of what's needed across each of these sections that are to be filled out, and really just provides an opportunity as well to create some of that, like removing some of the barriers around feeling like you have to write a training plan for every student, where a lot of times you're writing them and you're like, these are so common, I wish I could just duplicate this pretty quickly and then make some customized decisions throughout. And so the goal of this is that hopefully it can start to help streamline that a bit and do so. But wanted to stop sharing real quick. I know there's likely been some comments in the chat, and just want to see if there's any questions to what I showed on the training plan itself, or if there's any reactions. Would love to even just hear initial reactions of, is this exciting to see the interactive piece? Are there things that you wish were there that are not? Are there features that you're really excited about? As we just want to make sure that what we're putting out there is really helpful for you all. And it looks like Erin put something in the chat for employers on how to design that work-based learning experience, some guidance there. I see the question on what would be the best way for employers to use this form. From my context, I really think it's where they're able to be useful in helping to fill out their portion of what's going to be expected on the job. So thinking about if they're clear on the competencies that that student's going to develop alongside them in the experience, being able to map those out from the technical and employability side, and then as well being able to share around what they know to be true of the student's work schedule, that will be any expectations around what's going to be happening on the job, some of those components. And then I believe for Job Ready 360, how it can be compatible is, again, once you fill these out, they can be turned into a PDF. So that's easily something that you could take and upload into another system once it's completed. So you don't have to use the website of where these are stored as your system of like keeping those and storing them forever. You're more able to take those documents, and then if you have a system that you're storing them in as you're tracking other things for that student's experience, you can upload them there as well. I see the question, is there a reporting feature so that we are able to track students who have worked with us through various experiences? Nayoka, I don't know if you can think of anything that we have feature-wise for that right now in the current state. I don't know if I can specifically think of something to solve for that.
No, this is just a training plan template. It doesn't have any aspect in it to track actual hours. Now, as part of the training plan template, you'll put the number of hours a student is expected to work during the experience. So you can use that possibly, but no, there is no function here to track the actual hours worked.
Yeah, like Nayoka shared, really the goal here is to help fill out the actual training plan itself and just make it easy to do so. And then you should be able to print the training plan, especially once it's turned into that PDF document. Any other questions? I'm glad to see some positive feedback so far in the chat of just seeing the excitement around it. I know it obviously takes wanting to start to use it and play around with it and see how it works in practice, especially in a collaborative setting. And so excited to hear feedback as you all start to use this across your regions as you're working with students, but definitely looking forward to getting more feedback as it starts to get out there. I'll go ahead and share my screen. And just wanted to share a couple of reminders as we wrap up the presentation today. Let me go back to. So a couple of things just wanted to plug to make sure that you all are staying connected with us. One is I'd encourage, if you are not doing so already, to follow us on LinkedIn, as we are putting out a lot of things on there. Our marketing team does an incredible job of keeping updated on what Ascend is doing, but also really wanting to highlight what you all are doing across your regions. And so trying to get a good pulse of what's happening, sharing out really incredible work that's happening in the work-based learning space, and wanting to keep you all posted on that. And so for things like learning about more micro-learning sessions or where we're out and about across the regions and hearing more about what you all are doing that's really exciting, please make sure to follow us on LinkedIn. Erin will also share the direct link to our LinkedIn in the chat so you can access that as well if the QR code is not something you're able to scan right now. And then additionally, if you have not done so already, we also have a monthly newsletter and would love for you to subscribe to that. It's a way to just continue to keep connected with all of the things that Ascend is moving forward. We spend a lot of time in that newsletter highlighting really incredible things happening across our partners. We recently did a feature on ROI, but wanting to continue to highlight the good work that you all are doing, helping you all learn from each other, learn best practices, and sharing what's going well. And so another great opportunity just to continue to stay up to date with what we're doing and what others across our state are doing. And so feel free to scan that or use the link that Erin will share for that. I'll note that it's a constant contact link. So sometimes when you click into it, it'll have like a loading buffer page for a second before it gets you to that subscribe landing page. So just wanted to make note of that as it takes a second to get to the actual direct link itself. And then as a reminder, our team is here to be helpful. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We are more than happy to be supporting you all as you're thinking about this work, thinking about how to remove some barriers and make things easier. And so really just excited for what we've heard feedback wise and how we've been able to help, but looking forward to continuing to do so as well. And as a reminder, we have that next microlearning session in August on the student-led businesses toolkit. So really excited for that. So please join us again, as we'd love to be able to share that out with you. And we'll get a link out for that here after our time today. But wanting to just stop here. Again, I can answer any final questions for those who want to stay after in the chat, but really appreciate your time, appreciate the feedback that's led us to getting to this interactive tool, and excited for you all to begin using it.